So now we're on to the rat situation.
The rat situation. Monster
Rats.
Monday.
We usually do these in pairs of super popular one and not quite popular. And this one, this
Is
pairing,
the popular one because we just had Kuatoa, which are notoriously not very interesting. You can't really make interesting encounters with them because they lore wise are not very written out, or there's no plethora of information on those Kuatoa. They have nothing interesting about them. So the rats are the interesting one.
alrighty.
Do you disagree with any of my takes?
Sure, if you want to find out if we have managed to come up with some original stuff for the Kuatoa, go ahead and check out the Kuatoa video.
I'm joking for reference.
If anything, these Monster Mondays are a grab bag of interesting ideas that we come up with. Sometimes it's pinned to a specific set of encounters. Sometimes it just happens to be a bunch of fun addendum toolbox stuff where you basically like, oh my goodness, thank you very much for making a turtle Tarrasque can fly through the sky.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? And it's inspired by Gamera. I got my Catzilla shirt on.
Nice. All right. Rats.
Oh, rats. You want to do yours first, or you want me to do mine?
Whoa.
You started with yours.
Wait, we went into the full lore and the history of Kuatoa.
And goblins.
And goblins.
And
zombies. And we get to rats.
Yeah.
And then you have nothing to say about them. Yes, let's get into the encounter. I have nothing to say about rats.
Let me start here. Reminder: you go ahead and watch all those past Monster Mondays, as well as the character class plus species videos, and tell us what you think on those. And what's your favorite ones? But anyways, let's go with rats. Oh my goodness, rats were discovered in this ancient city in a fantasy world. One day, some guy showed up to the city and said, "Hey, I can help you finish building that tower over there." And to your gods, so you just as long as you let me do that, I'll put my idol up there for my god. And the group of people said, "Sure, you can do that." And so the guy goes...
Where is this train's destination?
So the guy goes to the tower, and he goes all the way up to the top, and he works into the night. And then when the people wake up in the morning, they discover that the tower's finally completed. So they all celebrate this tower completion. And as the tower goes... and it arrives at noon, they notice at 1 o'clock that it rings 13 times, and it starts raining. And
where is the tie-in to rats?
So as the tower rings, they notice that it starts raining and stuff like that, and they're like, weird, huh? They continue on, and every time it gets around to 1, it starts raining 13 times again. And the rain keeps coming down. And all of a sudden, they started to notice that the rats started getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Are you building out your encounter right now? Or are you giving us the history of rats? Because I thought I was getting the history of rats. But now it sounds like we're...
So the rats keep getting bigger and bigger, and they start attacking small animals, and people are starting to get concerned.
Okay, so this isn't the history of rats, just to confirm that.
Okay, the basic history of rats...
Wait. Is this your encounter? Because I was going into this with the mental point that you were giving me the history of rats.
This is not my encounter. This is the history of rats.
I don't think that's the history of rats.
Rats have a long history.
Are you going a Pied Piper route here? Is that what I'm catching?
There is, by the way, just basic information on rats. Rats live all around the world in all tropical environments except for extremely cold environments where there's nothing really to eat. They oftentimes travel by ship and stuff like that. They dig into forests and stuff like that. But anyways, these
The
rats.
rats they travel by ship. You got
Yeah,
like the
they
captain
climb.
rat.
They
You've
they
got
climb.
all the
Well,
swashbuckling rats.
I'll get to that. But anyways, generally the rats will stow away on ships and stuff like that and travel around the world. And various cultures have their own beliefs around rats and stuff like that. But as I was telling my story here, there's this tower and the rats are getting bigger and they're becoming more hostile to people. And so the humans are like, hey, dwarves, why are these, what's up with this? And the dwarves say, go away. Because they live in their own little town under the city, and all of a sudden the rats start walking upright and attacking people, and people are fighting off the rats and all kinds of stuff like that. And then the humans go ahead and ask the dwarves again for help, and the dwarves leave the door locked and they'll go away, and the humans are continuing to fight the rats, and the rats start picking up weaponry and armor and start killing humans more efficiently.
Are we still doing the history of rats, or is this your encounter?
But anyways, the rats fight the humans all the way back into the catacombs where the dwarves are, and the humans, desperate to escape from the rats and maybe get help from the dwarves, knock down the door to the dwarven city under the main city. And they discover all the dwarves are dead.
This is your encounter. It's gotta be.
So the humans are now in the catacombs of in the city of the dwarves under the city, and all of a sudden they see glowing red eyes peer out from the walls and the corridors around the dwarven city, and the rats come out and kill them. As the bell tolls 13 times.
Is this this is your encounter, right?
No.
No, it's just a story about rats.
But anyways, whoever knows what I was referencing, drop it in the comments below. But anyways, it's totally fun. And by the way, that also makes a really good scenario for rats in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. But anyways,
is there a saving throw for us not to get killed by them all there?
No.
You're just all dead.
Incidentally, I forgot to mention that there was...
We spent 45 minutes making our characters. Why would you run this in Call of Cthulhu?
Yeah, but anyways, there is also happens to have been, I forgot a very important detail, strange green rocks falling from the sky.
For why?
But anyways,
okay. All right, am I doing? Well, hold on, wait.
Your scenario, well, you were the first one on the Kuatoa one.
Yeah, do you want me to go first here? Because after your do you have a really elaborate rat one?
Yeah, actually it is.
Okay, so I think it'll be really funny then if I go after yours.
Alrighty. Let's go into my scenario. First and foremost, rats are fun and fantastic, as the standard scenario for most rats, for most D&D players, is that you go into the sewers or the cellars of a bar or a tavern, and you kill a few rats. This is a part of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition beginner box.
Oh wait, are you going history of rats?
Yeah.
No, you already did history of rats.
But
you already did history of rats.
The common scenario.
Wait, don't talk about the common one. You might spoil mine.
But you basically go into this cellar and kill rats. But anyways, that is the standard scenario that people end up with, is go into cellar and kill rats. And then they go on to the main quest that they have successfully killed a few rats.
Well, that wasn't the main quest.
No, that was not the main quest.
Hard
But
disagree.
sometimes you might have a few more steps in there. You might have a goat, a quest where you herd goats together, or you might help a merchant go from one town to another.
All right,
against the goblins. But anyways, in my scenario, instead of going to the cellar, obviously you could go ahead and have the cellar issue. You might have a wizard that has a tower over there, and he complains that he has a rat problem.
Okay.
The rats have his experiment with multiplying or breeding rats has run awry. He loves his rat familiar and his pet rats, but they just kept multiplying after he developed a elixir that improves rat vitality.
Did one of the rats put him up to this?
I don't know, but apparently the rats started multiplying at rapid rate, and now they have yeah, they just multiplied out it's by a ridiculous rate. So the party is now in a situation where the wizard had to escape from his own tower because the rats started eating everything.
Okay, so now you've got a bunch of little wizard rats, all
wizard rats
learning. They got like little blue hats on them, and they're going through their wizard books.
Yeah, they found some nice red robes, and they put them on.
They've got like someone's little notebook, but they've got all their little magic spells scribbled into this tiny notebook that's like perfectly sized for them.
Yep. We could go with that route too, but let's continue on with my fun scenario here. So the party is like, oh my goodness, this is the first quest in the rat adventure to this town. In the past, you may have had campaigns where you go into cellars or had to go in the sewer, or you had to go to the opera house, where there was too many rats in the basement or something like that. So this is like old hat for the players, but not the party. So they go to the wizard tower and they enter it. There's obviously rats everywhere. Some of them are actually getting quite large and hostile. It sounds a bit like the story I told earlier, but it's not.
No, it's a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story. There's no bell on the top of this tower.
Yeah.
There's a gong.
It's just similar.
Yeah, it's quasi-similar. But anyways, these rats are running around, and the party starts killing them and so forth. And at some point, they notice that the rats they're getting a little bit bigger, but they're also getting faster too. And all of a sudden, then there's this blur motion around the room. They notice. Every so often, and then get hit with something, and all of a sudden they realize that somewhere there's this rat that seems to have a movement speed of 60 or 120,
yes.
And it's just like zipping around. It's like it seems to be like blue or something, and it jumps into them and ankle bites them and stuff like that, and the party like tries
to give it like a reaction ability.
Oh yeah,
or legendary actions.
Yeah, let's give this where
if it ends its turn, or sorry, if something tries to attack it, it gets a reaction to dodge or something. Yeah.
But anyways, there's this rat. We have the standard rats, which are just standard rats. Then we have the extra large rats and the dire rats, the giant rats. All standard stuff, and now we have this new type of rat that pops up every so often in this tower. They rush around very viciously, nipping at the party. This rat could have standard stats of a rat. However, it has 120-foot movement speed, and because it has 120-foot movement speed, it grants disadvantage on all opportunity attacks by the party.
I like that.
So now the party has this rat it's nipping them constantly, and as they travel up through the tower, they run into more of these rats and stuff like that. And it's kind of like
give it hide as a bonus action.
And they probably could hide too. They're so fast that they disappear from the sight of the party very easily as they run behind bookshelves to get away from the party and come back out and nip them again. So the party is like, oh, this is like weird and shit. And then they all of a sudden see another rat that seems to be weirdly shaped. Like it's blocky in shape.
Okay.
And they hit it, and it's really hard. And it's like, what? And it seems to have like stone skin, and another one that has bark skin, so they have like improved AC or something.
Yeah.
And like, what the heck is this situation where they have this rat that's moving around at lightning speed every so often? I think a few of them that pop up, they manage to kill a few of them here and there. It's like, oh my goodness. And then they have like a red rat come out, and like, oh my goodness, that's a cute red rat, and then spits a jet of fire at them. And it's like, what the heck is this?
Okay, so you've got a variety of different infused rats.
Infused rats with various fun elements or something like that. So the part they run across yellow rats that shoot lightning at them, chew at them. It
I feel like I've pitched the same idea to you.
We actually came up. We're kind of joking around, and we kind of invented this basic scenario. But we have now these rats that shoot lightning at the party and fire, and then you have another rat that shoots water at the party that pushes them a little bit, makes the floor slick, so the party has to make dexterity checks whenever they walk through the area because it's now wet. And they have these annoying weird rats, and then they find another rat and they hit it and it multiplies.
Yep.
Hit it once, and then it multiplies into two, and someone smashes it with a hammer, and the one that's smashed with a hammer dies, but the one that's hit with a sword splits.
Yep.
So you now have that problem, and as they travel up through this tower, they keep running into this, and then they eventually run into a rainbow rat. Okay. You remember Rainbow Rat?
I can assume.
I came up with it. So now they hit the rainbow rat, and the rainbow rat splits into different color rats of all the different elements they have ran into before, like yellow rats that shoot lightning, and like light blue rats that shoot gusts of wind that push people around, and the blue rats that burst into water or shoot jets of water that make the floor slick.
Okay, so you went all full elements, craziness, rat adventure.
Yeah, you got various rats, and then you get a rat that has hair that's nothing but knives.
Yep.
So it runs into them. It's a bunch of daggers. So you just random roll a d20. No, not a d20. Start with a d10. And then whatever d10 you got, then you roll a bunch of d4s equal to the number of the d10. Yep. And that's the number of the dagger damage, the poking, piercing damage that the rat does to them.
Jeez.
And as this party's going through the tower, you end up with displacer rats or they generate holograms around themselves of other rats. So they swing into a spot, and there's no rat there, but you saw a rat.
Yep.
And then they hit another rat, and it disappears entirely, and it dies.
Okay, you went kind of wild.
And as they travel up through the tower, they eventually run into various other rats that have various combination of abilities, like rats that can walk on walls or hit spider webs at party members and stuff like that. You can get really ridiculous with this. And you can scale this for the various levels of the party, but you can simply roll d4s for all their elemental damages and still maintain it inside that first level to fourth level range, depending on how many of these rats you spawn out.
Yeah.
But even then, if you throw a few more rats in there, it's not going to be bad.
I would give them all really low hit points as well. Like two.
That's the universal default for all the rats, except for the stone skin ones or the other ones.
Yeah.
But they might be a little slower. You might cut their movement speed.
Yeah.
So they're easier to dodge around and pelt at distance.
Yeah.
You might have a rat that is made of iron or something like that.
Yeah, big old AC rat.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it only has movement of 5 or 10, and so it doesn't really it can't chase the party very effectively, and it can't escape.
Okay.
So that's my basic scenario. And
I like the idea.
And of course, when you finish off killing off all the magically mutated rats, the wizard can give the party a baby rat of a given element
as like a little pet to fight with you, and then but if it dies, then you don't have. Okay, I really like that bit idea.
So now the party has someone has a electric rat that they can use thunderbolt with and tackle. And then another rat that shoots leaves as an attack.
Yep.
And then now we have Pokemon with rats.
I approve. All right. I like the idea of the rats. I think that you can go any which way of amounts of craziness, adding all the abilities.
Yep.
I think you really could scale it even all the way up to 5 or 6, depending how big you make the tanky rats.
Yeah. Or how many you throw in there, too,
Yeah.
because if you got a bunch of, like, super speedy rats, it's obviously going to be a lot of picking.
I think this would also be...
damage.
It would be really easy to balance, in my opinion, because you could really just do it on the fly and start chucking in more and more of different kinds of rats.
You also throw in Zats, too.
True, zombie rats, yep.
Yep.
All right. I think that's a very interesting
One
encounter.
small addendum.
Yes.
The party leaves, go on their adventure, and they come back, and the wizard is now fixed his tower, and he has options for people to come in to pick one of their favorite 3 rats, and they can become a rat master.
Oh my gosh. You just put them all in a bag, if you will.
Yeah.
Bag of rats.
Yep.
Anyways.
There's this magic bag that's called the rat bag, that is blue and red, that you open up. I choose you, Zapachu.
All right. Solid rat encounter. I think you could build that out in a very interesting way.
You could turn it into an entire new campaign.
All right. I went even more crazy. Did I? With my encounter here.
Now, on to my co-hosts' amazing rat adventure, as it's in progress, or is about to become in progress.
Yes. So I had an idea for mine. I asked that you try to...
Is it the Zats again?
No. I asked that you try to avoid looking at my my note for this one, because I want you to be surprised as I get there. So, my idea for my rat encounter is that I want to be like a tavern basement cleanup, if you will, of the tavern owner has rats in their basement.
Well, they could hire Catzilla to take care of the rats.
No. Adventurers. Adventurers need to deal with this infestation of rats in a tavern cellar.
Maybe they could use pocket rats as a tool.
Maybe. No, never before seen. So my idea is you have this ale house, if you will. There's a bunch of casks of ale, barrels, so on and so forth, in the basement. So the entire thing smells of old, some expired ale. Very gross. Some bits leaked out and spilled, creating sticky parts on the ground that create a whole amount of hazards to the entire area down there. And it really is the idea of just going down there to fight rats, for reference. That is the idea, is deal with the rats in the basement. But, so, tavern owner hires them. Rat infestation. Cramped basement. You get down there. It's dark. So it's already affecting your checks unless you pick like a dwarf or something and you got dark vision, right?
And tremor sense.
And tremor sense. This entire area is filled with like barrels and crates.
Oh my goodness! A dwarf paladin that has tremor sense, blind sight, and dark vision.
Yes. All right. So you've got some rats climbing out of the ale barrels. They're all slippery, so it makes it much harder to pin them down. And the paths that they're walking are becoming more slippery and hazardous as well, right?
And then the wizard casts this firebolt and sets the rats on fire because they're soaking in high octane alcohol.
Absolutely. My plan as well include at least one bigger rat, probably just one, because you want to fit the thematic of they're dealing with the rat in the basement. But have this be this big rat that's really quick, similar to your fast rat idea, and give him either disengage or your idea there of the where
it gives
disadvantage opportunity attacks. Yeah.
yes.
So he's darting around this entire basement, constantly hiding and slipping into barrels and
Does this rat
crates.
happen to have 4 turtles and they have
No.
weapons?
No. But he's constantly slipping around into different barrels and crates, and like let's say this vase on the other side of the room starts rocking a little. You could really play it up of they can see like the trail of it's somewhere over there in one of those. You'd have to make like a battle map of a ton of breakable objects, if you will, that it could be sneaking into, and then you give it like a layer action where it spawns like a D4 +1 of rats or something, so that you're introducing an additional like 2 to 5 rats per turn order while they're trying to get to the big one. So every round that this thing gets to live in combat is stacking up in difficulty. So you could additionally, you can throw in saving throws there of the things, leaving messes on the ground. You could have it so that the big rat that's dashing around could bite them, and you maybe make it like some kind of disease or make it like poison damage. You could use it to give conditions. So, for example, mind you, you'd be going really strong. You could go like paralysis, or if you really want to be a terrible person, you can go exhaustion.
Yeah.
But
Paralysis, stunned,
yeah,
prone.
incapacitated.
Yeah.
But you just have this rat fly around the room, basically, constantly concealing itself in some breakable thing that the party's just going around smashing up this entire tavern owner's basement to deal with this one singular big rat. You could
Is the tavern owner going to have these guys arrested because they broke all his stuff just to kill a rat?
Maybe. You could also have the big rat goes up to like a different like little stacked barrels and pushes one off, so it's like a deck save of its flying into them.
Well, what we could also happen to have that some of the rats could also chew on some of the netting on the ceiling, and nets can fall on the party as well.
Yes, it could have storage nets at the top that it's just biting at ropes and it all just
Smaller ally rats happen to be up there.
yes, they fall from the ceiling. So yeah, that was my idea. It's pretty original, I think. You've got a basement, a tavern owner hires them for a quest, never before seen.
This could also segue into your mini adventure of the deep rats.
It could. I was trying to avoid doing that one because I think that it is a really cool idea, but it's for another story.
Yeah. I'm kind of tempted to actually sit down and like all my scenarios from these Monster Mondays and just actually write them out within a nice adventure.
Yup.
That'd probably be something that'd be good to be thrown on a Patreon or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Or even just on, say, like the page channel's Discord.
Yeah. Write it out and then even do a recorded video of you explaining the adventure and different parts of it. And then from there, also then link to a PDF of it or something in the comments. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. That's been my encounter for rats. What's your thoughts on it?
I actually like it. It might actually be a better intro adventure to rats than mine. I'm usually the one that's doing the introduction adventure, sure, but this time it's you that did it. Probably that'd be a very good adventure for level 1 to level 2 range.
I agree with
It'll
that.
most likely get people into their level 2 by the end of it because this super rat is quite clever.
I think it would make for a very good encounter for new players as well, specifically. As they're figuring out what combat is, how turns work, and you can have the layer actions constantly spawning the rats that they have to deal with, and so on and so forth. It's not dangerous enough that they're going to die, but they do get to make use of their abilities and have decisions they have to make in combat. And then you've got the morality or the area of gray there of destroying the tavern owner's supplies down there. Are you going to get into trouble for it? It could create an interparty conflict or decision to be made there.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my rat encounter. I like your idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think yours could get much more deadly, and mine definitely stays on the safe side.
Mine is scalable to level 1 to level
I'd
10
put
or
yours
something
up to
like that.
like 10.
It could go up to 10
whereas-
depending on what type of rats you include into it.
Mine, you wouldn't want to go over 3.
Yeah.
1 or 2 is a good place for it. But that's been our rat encounters. I'm happy with. We did like a swap of. I normally make like kind of crazy things, but I tried to stick to the fundamentals here on this one.
No, we had a similar situation with the Kuatoa one as well.
Yes.
Where you basically were more of the basic one, and I went with, I'm gonna invent a whole bunch of extra stuff and add it in as options.
I added some.
And honestly, yours and mine in the Kuatoa one, it can actually be bind into the same scenario.
Yes.
And mine is more of like option box to add into yours.
Yeah.
Where in this one, it's definitely like you are
They're
a
their own
solid
thing.
Intro adventure.
Yep.
And then you might choose to say like throw mine in and as a follow up that takes the party from level 2 to level 5.
Yeah.
And then maybe when they come back around at level 18 after defeating the final boss in the campaign, they discover that hey, the wizard is now giving away rats as pets, and now you have people wandering around everywhere with rats in bags ready to battle.
Oh boy, the old what is it called, the bag of whatever it is.
The bag of holding?
No,
the bag of rats.
No, not the bag of rats.
The bag of tricks?
The bag of tricks.
Yep.
Anyways, that's been Monster Monday Rats. I think that we did a good job making Rats an interesting time. Honestly. I would be happy playing either one of those sessions myself. Alright. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. Please try and subscribe and all that stuff.
All the fun jazz of hitting all the buttons on the channel.
Alright. We'll see you guys next time. You guys have a wonderful day.
And a nice night.
Have a good one.